Welcome, everybody. On today's program is an independent filmmaker, Paige Irene Bruns. Just watched her latest work called Anchor. I want to talk to her about that, and I want to talk to her about all of her other projects and her blossoming career. Welcome to the program, Paige.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. So I just watched Anchor literally just a few minutes ago. I started last night, then I decided that I don't want to watch something that'll may potentially cause me issues during sleep. So I watched it this morning.
Okay.
It's strong and it certainly deals with issues that are very, very important. Let's talk about it. How did you come up with it, and what caused you to actually do it?
Yeah, so it's a topic that I have been passionate about for as long as I can remember. But I think really what sparked me to say, okay, now is the time to do it is I had a realization moment where I realized that in society, when we look at criminals, they're always innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But when you look at a survivor of assault, they're more often than not looked at as the villain until they're proven to be the victim. And that when I realized that, it did not sit well with me. So Anchor was my way of kind of working through that emotion in the hopes that we could start conversations and try to shift them from, okay, first of all, did it really happen? And if it did happen, I want to know the details to prove that it happened. And kind of shift that conversation to, okay, well, how can we support survivors of this? And then anything else being an afterthought.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Anchor doesn't paint an easy picture, right? Because there's victims, but there's also a situation which is not easy, and it's not clear cut, and coming with a proper solution is a complicated issue, and that's what you're leaving it with. So it's complex, and there are multiple people involved, which is why I like it, because it's not a simple scenario, bad guy, good guy, done, which is how most life is. What was the reaction so far to Anchor from the audience?
The reaction has been overwhelmingly positive
Mhm.
from both the festival circuit and just the general public. I think it's the most overwhelming part of it is hearing from survivors themselves.
Yeah.
And that has just been insanely overwhelming in the best way possible.
Yeah. Has it, and again, you don't need to share if you don't want to, but do you know anyone that this or something similar happened to, and that's why you decided to do this particular, storyline, or is this something that, just came out because we all read about these things, right?
Yeah, so I think it was a combination. Growing up, I knew people not closely, but I did know people who had gone through something similar. So I think that's what brought my attention to it originally.
Mhm.
But then, as I got older and more current days, it's all over and it's the same
Yeah.
types of stories all the time. And to be honest, we only hear a fraction of them.
Yeah.
And then my actress, Sierra, who played Haley in the film, is actually a survivor herself.
Mhm.
So that was very interesting working with her on a project like this.
Yeah. How was that in I don't know if it helped her process anything, acting. I'm an actor. So from my perspective, in some cases it could be therapeutic. In other cases, it could be, throwing you down a rabbit hole you don't want to go. So what was it like for her?
She's told me several times that it actually really helped her work through it. I think the most powerful thing she said to me, she actually said it a few weeks ago, is that she didn't realize how much healing she still had to do
Yeah.
until she went through the process of shooting Anchor.
Mm.
And to me, that just made me even more excited that we made the film, because to be able to help with that in any avenue was incredible.
Yeah, and that's why I love independent films. I love short films. I've been in in quite a few of them myself,
Very cool.
but it's that close knit community and its ability to take a message and really distill it and present it in a way that doesn't take a whole feature for people to get it. I really like the idea of short, so I'm happy that you're using this medium.
Yeah, I think that with something like this, a short is the best way to go about it, um, to get the point across in the way that I wanted to. So I definitely think the short was fitting for that.
Yeah, and the ending, even though technically the ending is people can assume that it's done, but it's still very much an open scenario, and you can see how the different parties, the victim in this case, and then the well, I don't know if he was her boyfriend or not, but now he's struggling with it. So it's something that may resolve later. And I like that in a lot of European films, we don't get to see this clear cut, happy ending or sad ending. It's more of it's up for you to think and decide what happens next. I'm glad that you're using that as opposed to a resolution.
Yeah, and I think with this, the ending was very important to me in how we did it. I
Yeah.
really wanted to reflect that for survivors of assault, the assault itself is not the end. It's really the start of a very long healing process. And to me, leaving the film so open-ended on her is just kind of a reflection of that.
Yeah. So which I haven't had a chance to kind of do a deep dive, but in terms of the number of shorts that you have done so far, which one is this? Is this 10th, 20th, 5th? Where are you?
This is probably the fifth or sixth that I've done.
Okay. Hmm. And how did you start? Why is this path the path that you decided to follow?
Yeah, so it's actually funny because I think that I've always wanted to do something in entertainment,
Mhm.
but for a long time I was focused on the wrong side of it. I was very much interested in acting. So
I'm
I
sorry. Let's pause for a second. Why is that the wrong side,
well,
or
it's
was it
the wrong
wrong for you?
it was the wrong side for me.
Okay.
Which I'll get into. I'll tell you about that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I was focused on acting because I really enjoyed it. I was involved in theater from a very young age. And in high school, I was very involved in my theater program. And I started to think, okay, well, maybe I want to do this for a career. And so I started kind of doing the actor thing for a few years. I did auditions and did a lot of theater. But the more I started to do auditions, I very quickly realized that I was not cut out to be an actor. Being in a room full of producers, executives, casting directors was just not something that I was ever going to get comfortable with. So I realized, okay, maybe it's time to take a step back. So I did, but I was still very involved in my high school theater program because I still loved acting, just not in high pressure situations. So I continued to do that. And one day my theater director came up to me and said, "Hey, Paige, would you want to direct a student directed one act play? I want to do a few of them." And I was like, "I don't know why you're asking me, but okay, I'll try it." So that was the first experience that I had with directing. And I absolutely fell in love with directing actors and working with them. And the rest kind of just fell in line from there. There was no turning back after I did that.
Very cool. And it's interesting. It's interesting that you didn't want to be in the room with the producers, directors, and casting directors, and you're still in that room. Now you're just
Yeah,
from it. Now you're just on the other side of it.
right.
Yeah. So, but I think that experience probably helps you work with actors because you know what they're going through, and it helps you be an actor director,
Yes.
somebody who gets it, which is very important to us actors.
Yeah, no, I definitely am grateful that I started out in acting because I think it's
Mhm.
given me a whole different approach. And really, it helped me learn right out of the gate how important it is to be tapped into every aspect of your actor's emotional states, both as themselves and as the character. And so right away, I learned the importance of being able to identify very quickly in high pressure situations when an actor has kind of given you everything and has hit their like breaking point emotionally.
Yeah.
Which I think because of my acting experience, I was able to learn that a lot faster than I would have without it.
No, it's great, and uh, I want to find out how you're doing things in your productions because in a lot of shorts and indies that I have done, there is not a lot of time for any discussion. It's basically okay. Here's what we're doing. We're shooting because we're in a limited time and budget. Do you have any time to work with your actors and set your vision and give them a chance to kind of really get into it and find the characters and find the proper story points?
Yes, so I prioritize that. I'm a very collaborative person in
Mhm.
the world of filmmaking and kind of every element of it. So when it comes to working with my actors, it's really important to me that we have time outside of getting together to kind of, what I like to say is, do do our homework and then come together and kind of explain it. So, I'll come to set with my idea of what a scene should be and how it should feel, but so is my actors. So it's really important that we have that time to kind of work through it all and see, okay, what really works best here.
Yeah.
So I definitely prioritize having time to work on that.
Very important. The best directors that I have worked with did that, and they spent the time, and they, got us in a room before a shooting, and they just let us play, and doing all sorts of games, doing a way for the team to kind of get to know each other and the tendencies, a way to dive into the character, try different things, because you don't want to do 80 takes in the same coverage. You want to already come in understanding, okay, this is what we're kind of trying to do, and then just find that thing. If it's take one, great. If it's take three, fine.
Mhm.
But it saves everybody a lot of time. So
Definitely. Yeah. And I think for me personally, as a director, if I know my actors really well as themselves, it helps me direct them. So
yeah,
being ahead of it all and just doing, before anything, we just will go to dinner and get to know each other, or just hang out for a few days. That's really important to me because it affects how I direct them. With Anchor, for example, I had completely different types of actors. One didn't want to know anything except for, okay, the basics. What am I feeling? That's all I want to know. And the other would come to me and say, okay, well, I want to know what he had for dinner last night and what did he eat for breakfast this morning. So being able to know that kind of ahead of time, what like their style and how they approach things was
yeah,
really important.
excellent. I'm trying to figure out what I would want to know, but that's a separate discussion. Okay. Now doing indies, because doing indies, doing shorts, this is still a very large process, and it still requires time and money. What do you do? I think you have your own production company, but where do you go to get budget, because these things are not cheap.
Yeah, no, they're not. So far what we've done is we've done GoFundMe, Indiegogo, that type of thing. And then private investors who have seen work that are interested in being an executive producer or want to come in and support something if they're passionate about the topic that we're doing.
Mhm.
So far that's what we've been doing and it's worked thus far. So we'll see kind of where it goes in the future. But right now that's been the model.
Got it. And then I see some trophies, behind you, including
Yeah.
something that looks like an Oscar, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Oh
an
yeah,
Oscar?
this one?
Yeah.
No. I made a documentary about a music foundation a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we did well at a festival, so that they gave me that.
That's very cool. Well, listen, it's there's more of them to come. Keeping fingers crossed. And that goes into the next point of where do you see this all going? What's next for you?
Well, currently I'm working on a multi-season drama series that I can't say too much about yet, but what I can tell you is that like the tone and nature of it is kind of like Breaking Bad meets Ozark meets Outer Banks.
Okay.
So it's kind of a mix of those. So I'm working on that, but I think in general, outside of that, I hope to continue to tell stories that can have can be kind of like a catalyst for any sort of positive change or conversation that leads to change. So long term, big scale, that's kind of what I would hope to continue to do.
No, it's great. And have any networks, any streaming providers started talking to you?
Not yet, but I'd be open to it for sure.
If anybody is watching this from Netflix or Prime or anybody else, please let's get together
Yeah,
with Paige and talk about some things.
definitely.
Um, Very cool. Last question for you. Um, what drives you? I know you've mentioned that the ability to tell stories that matter, but what makes you get up in the
Um, I think that's a huge part of it. And I think what has really kind of reinforced that for me has been working on Anchor,
morning?
and seeing the feedback, particularly from survivors.
Yeah.
Um, to me, that drives me to get up every morning and continue to tell stories that have some sort of element to it that deals with real everyday issues, even if it's on a small scale, just a small part of the story. If we're still highlighting it, that's important to me, because I think we're so perceptive of what we watch on our screens these days. And as humans, we really only have our own experience to shape our perspective. So being kind of introduced to other issues that we might not deal with ourselves on a daily basis, I think is really important. So being a part of that definitely drives me.
Very cool. Well, Paige, it's a pleasure meeting you. Best of luck. I do like Anchor, and I want it to do well. And if any survivors are watching this, I can't empathize, but I definitely sympathize with you. And best of luck in your recovery.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's another episode of Let's Dive In. Please follow Paige right below this video. We're going to have descriptions. We're going to have a link to Anchor. Please go ahead and follow Paige and support her on her journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure.